Oh, hey, let's talk poop. Carnivore, constipation, and crap. Yes, this is that day that I talked about poop on the internet. Shut the door. Yes, carnivore, constipation, and crap. I never thought I'd have the day where I'd be talking about poop on the internet, but today what I want to cover with you are some things to be aware of if you're considering carnivore or you are well into carnivore. Whatever the case, you may be experiencing some constipation, some unusual pooping, and that's what I want to talk to you about today. I'm Jackie Almer. Grab my guide at lowertoxiclife.com and make sure you're subscribed to the channel and the playlist on my Carnivore Keto journey over 60. So I've been on my carnivore journey for about 7 months now and have experienced some interesting things. Now, I'm here to tell you that I have not had the issue with constipation like so many other people have, but I know a lot of people who have experienced that. And I've done a lot of research, and I've also spent a lot of time biohacking and studying my own habits, shall we say, to figure out what's normal and more specifically, what's normal for me. And that's really what I want to cover with you are some things to prepare for, be aware of, and how to navigate any challenges that you might have. Now, the first thing that I'm going to highly recommend that you do is set aside old beliefs. Not that those beliefs are bad, not that those beliefs are wrong, but we all have belief systems that we've been conditioned with over and over and over again. And as we begin to set those aside and explore them, quite often we find that it was more like marketing and persuasion that created these belief systems with us, not necessarily scientific fact. And one of those is the thought that we need vegetables, fruits, grains, and fiber type foods in order to keep our body flowing, our systems flowing, and the poop coming out of us. Let me ask you a question. Is that a belief that you currently have? Second question, where did that belief come from? And then third question, have you ever truly researched it, researched the data, figured out who was telling you this, who sponsored the study, and more specifically, who paid for the study? Now, when you think about that, Kellogg's cereal, for instance, I'm not suggesting that they've done any of this, but they're the ones that led us to believe that breakfast was the most important meal of the day, and more specifically, that their cereals were the answer to all of our nutritional needs at breakfast time. But is that true? No, it's not true. And in fact, most of their cereals, quite frankly, are crap, and they will inhibit your crap if you're not careful. So this is where I'm going to really recommend that you put old beliefs aside. Now, here's some things that you're going to want to be aware of and prepare for as you start a carnivore or ketovore journey and as you proceed and possibly run into obstacles. Now, if you really stop and think about it, and the way that I like to run my life is I am seeking to get as close to our ancestral roots as possible. So I always ask myself, what would my ancestors have done before we had all of the technology and modern agriculture and all the different things that we have in today's world? If I were out living the nomad life, so to speak, in a tribal community, how would we eat? How would we live? How would all of that work? And it just tends to make sense for me knowing that we as humans have been designed, our body systems have been designed to eat meat, to eat animal proteins, to be carnivores. Are we designed to be herbivores and omnivores? Maybe, maybe not. Certainly we've adapted and some of our systems have adapted over time. But one thing that's never gone away is our ability as humans to process animal protein. And I like to eat good quality, humanely raised, pasture raised, really good quality animal proteins. But that's not the purpose of this video, and that's not what we're going to focus on here today. But for me, it makes sense that that would be a part of my diet, and that I always ask myself, does my body naturally know what to do with animal protein when I digest it? Now, I've done a lot of research because honestly, what led me on my carnivore journey was some issues that I was having. I felt like I was the cleanest eater. Well, I was the 90% clean eater that was out there. Very few, if any, processed foods. I avoided seed oils unless I just absolutely was out somewhere and couldn't avoid them. High fructose corn syrup, ultra processed foods. I mean, there's so many of the bad boys out there that I had completely eliminated from my diet. However, I was still having some chronic joint pain, some brain fog, some bloating, and some, rumbling in my stomach after I would eat and different things like that. And I kept thinking, what the heck? Like, seriously, what the holy heck? I don't know what more I could do. I drink my body weight in water every day. I do all these different things. And so I just kept body hacking and going down the path. And that's honestly what made YouTube put carnivore in my feed and had me start clicking on it. And at first I was extremely resistant to it. Now, if you have watched my playlist at all, I kind of go into that. I'm the last one in the world that wanted to give up my vegetables. If you've followed me at all, I've talked about my capsule meal plan. I've talked about my seed cycling with chia seeds and hemp seeds and pumpkin and sesame seeds and all of that to balance my hormones and regulate different cycles, all of that. And so the last thing that I wanted to do was give up seeds, nuts, veggies, and cacao powder and dark chocolate, to be completely honest. But the more I started studying and the more I started understanding oxalates, and I'm creating a whole nother video on that, and what happens within the body, it started making sense to me that maybe, just maybe, the path that I had gone down with thinking 80% of my diet should be vegetables, and a lot of that being raw vegetables like spinach and kale and salads, maybe all of that was derailing my own system. Again, I'm only speaking for me, but if you're having any issues like brain fog, chronic pain, joint inflammation, bloating, that wheat belly, that extra little bit of weight around our stomach, sleep issues. I think I already mentioned that. If you're having any of these issues and you feel like you're eating really clean, I'm going to really encourage you to explore and potentially try a diet or a food protocol, as I like to call it, such as carnivore. Now, one of the things that I know is that one of the reasons that we've been told that we need fiber in order to keep our systems flowing and to keep us pooping is because of all of the crap, literally, that we eat on a daily basis. What I found is once I went to carnivore, I didn't have any of these issues, but I didn't necessarily poop every single day. More like most often every day, but sometimes every 2 days. And as long as it wasn't hard or a challenge or anything like that, I learned not to worry about it. And the more research that I did with Dr. Ken Berry and other medical doctors who not only use this form of eating, that are not only carnivore, but they track their patients and they study it and they're doing their own research on this, it began to make sense for me. So here's some things to keep in mind. If you're just starting carnivore or ketovore and you're experiencing constipation, here's some things that I really want to ask you. How clean was your diet before you started this? Were you eating a lot of ultra-processed foods? Were you eating a lot of vegetables and grains and things that we've been conditioned to believe are those superfoods, those healthy foods, those things that we should be consuming? How much alcohol do you consume on a regular basis? And you know what? You don't have to tell anyone the answers. These are those areas, though, where you want to sit and ask yourself some questions and be very honest with yourself about all of that, because sometimes your body can really go into a tiz when you start something new and you've got a lot of backed up garbage inside you. So for some people, if they start carnivore cold turkey and they don't give their body time to process and eliminate those ultra processed foods and some of those type items that are storing up in your body, you can run into challenges. So keep that in mind and pay attention and look back and think, how was I eating prior to this? Important questions to answer. Now, the other thing is make sure that you are hydrating your body good enough, getting plenty of water, and along with that water, electrolytes. electrolytes, okay? Because we need salt and magnesium and potassium very often to keep those systems flowing. Now, a lot of people will report, and again, I'm not a doctor or a scientist. You can go to citations.lowertoxiclife.com. I am a nutritional coach, and I also am a personal body hacker. And so I'm always sharing with you my own experiences and the experiences of my clients. But a lot of people will tell you once you really get into carnivore and you're eating highly nutrient dense animal proteins, you won't necessarily need to supplement with magnesium and potassium because all of that is stored within the muscle tissue and the meat that you'll be eating of this animal protein. And for me, again, I look at things and I think, does that seem logical to me? Yes, it does. Now, one of the reasons that we promote on the carnivore diet eating rudimentary animals, beef, lamb or sheep, goat, bison, those are all animals that have multiple stomachs and they are designed to eat grass, to eat grains, mostly grass, to eat those type things. Their stomachs are designed through the multiple chambers of stomachs to digest that, to process it, to extract those nutrients, store them into their meat. And then of course, when we consume that, you've probably heard, you are what you eat, and you are what you've eaten has eaten. Makes sense, right? So if they're eating all that and it's storing, then you're going to get the benefit of that as well in most cases. So that's something to keep in mind as well. So you want to make sure that you are fueling your body right with largely animal-based protein. You're drinking plenty of water with electrolytes, and you're allowing enough time for your body to process and offload all of the garbage that might be stored in your cells, in your muscles, in your tissues and fibers within your own body. Now, another thing that causes issues for some people is dairy. Now, I'm not a purist carnivore, and I still, as of this recording, am more of a ketovore. I still eat some avocado. I still eat some pickles. What else? Just some very light little condiments. I like to make bison with feta cheese and a little bit of pickle and a little bit of mustard. And I almost feel like I'm having a bison burger just with no bread. Again, you have to do you. I didn't start carnivore for weight loss. I don't appear to have any issues with dairy when it comes from sheep and goats. So I eat goat cheese and I eat 100% sheep's feta cheese. But dairy can be a conflict for some people. So again, you have to figure things out for yourself. Sometimes egg whites can be a problem for some people. So what I recommend doing is look at the primary food sources that are on a carnivore/ketovore diet. And I am going to do a video on oxalates and talk to you about the lower oxalate foods. So if you're still incorporating a small amount of carbohydrates in, you might want to make sure that that is cooked broccoli and cauliflower and asparagus, not spinach. That's one of the highest oxalate foods that are out there. And it's kind of funny, when I started exploring different things and looking at these different foods and then looking at my own eating habits, I thought, oh my gosh, these healthy superfoods aren't so healthy or superfoodish for me. So those are some things that I wanted to cover for you. And again, like anything, it's okay to talk about poop. It's okay to look at your poop. It's okay to track your poop. How often are you pooping? What's the consistency? Is it challenging for you? Are you straining? Do you have diarrhea? What are the different things that you can be aware of so that you can track your poop and say, you know what? Maybe I don't go after every meal, but maybe I go once a day, or maybe I go once every other day, as long as it's not overly hard, overly dark, that you're not straining or super loose, then chances are you are in good shape. And as long as you feel healthy and your energy level is up, you're probably going to be just fine. So again, grab my guide at lowertoxiclife.com. Leave me any comments that you have. If you've had this challenge, if you've cleared this challenge, whatever suggestions you have for the rest of the community, I would love to hear it. And hey, let's just agree that it's okay to talk about poop here on YouTube or the internet, wherever you're finding this video. That's it. Be sure to watch this next video that I have coming up for you. I'm Jackie Ulmer. Thanks for being here with me today as we talk about poop. Shut the door.